I'm here with Mike Hathcote. No, just joking. Just joking.
Thanks.
It's
Oh,
an
soy.
inside joke, right? We
Yeah,
had a
yeah.
soy. We got to skate with a soy here in your backyard. What, a few years ago?
2018. Yeah.
Yeah, and my wife did a birthday gift for me. She had him. I can't remember what the name of the app was, but she gave him a note basically.
Cameo.
Cameo. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she basically gave him a note that said,
You
yeah, you
skated with me
skated
at
the
the
Mike Hathcote Bowl. He's like,
Hathcote
I
Bowl
skated the
in
Mike
Gilbert,
Hathcote Bowl with you.
Arizona.
So it's an inside joke. It's good.
Yeah.
Good. So here with Mike Hathcote, my good friend. We're here every weekend skating his bowl, and here we are. We're right here where we've had many pros come in here and rip. You've had Lance Mountain in here, Steve Caballero, Christian Hosoi. Who else?
Steve Alba. Um, Darren Navarrete, Andrew Reynolds.
Trey Wood.
Yeah, Trey Wood, Jagger Eaton, some Olympians. Lizzie Armanto. So yeah, quite a few.
So let's first start talking about your pool here. Tell me a little bit about your design, and then also, what is it like on a weekend to have pros here, but also you have locals here, you have beginners here, and then what I love about it is you're bringing together all these people on the weekend, and it's just really cool just to come back here and even just be part of the vibe.
Yeah, I mean, I decided to do this not only for myself, selfishly, but I also wanted to just give back to the scene, not only the Phoenix scene, but just the larger skateboarding scene that has given, so much to me. So back in 2016, I actually was thinking about moving because I wanted to do something in the backyard for skating. And at the time, we had a different pool here. It was a very small, kind of not skatable pool. And we were actually looking at houses because we were going to move just so I could build something in the backyard. And my wife just had the brilliant idea. She was like, well, we love our house. Why don't we just get rid of the pool in the backyard and start fresh with a brand new pool? And I was like, duh, of course. So we excavated the old pool out, and I just like the classic design of a kidney shaped pool. Not only because it's fun to skate, but also if we ever sell the house, all we have to do is paint the coping so that it doesn't look all trashed, and then fill it up, which we fill it up every summer anyway and swim in it. Just fill it up, paint the coping, and it looks like any other pool. So I mean, we don't plan on selling, but that's a possibility if we need to.
Fantastic. Well, I know I love coming here. It's such a blast to come here. So always thank you for the invite.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Let's talk about your shop. We've got a shop located up here. You're taking used skateboards that you're collecting from the community. You're taking that wood, you're transforming it into something living again. What's that process like? And how do you decide what you're going to make next?
Well, I mean, a lot of those boards just end up in landfills, and so it's nice to be able to kind of give it new life. And so depending on what I have in mind that day, I mean, I don't really even know where the ideas come from. Sometimes I just feel like, okay, today I want to make a bowl, or maybe I'll make some rings, or a bottle opener, or whatever, that just kind of comes to mind. And it's totally random, but the process is super fun. And just like with learning any new skill, it took a while to kind of start getting the skill set. It was super duper challenging, but very rewarding when you actually see what you can do with your two hands, and donated old busted up skateboards that would have otherwise ended up in a landfill.
That's true. That's true. We'll show some of the artwork in the clips.
Mm-hmm.
Moving to some of your retro artwork, you've done some recreations of skateboards and guitars. How did you get into that? And you actually got to meet Tony Hawk. You actually got to go, and we'll show a little clip.
Yep.
And he skated your board that you created. I mean, he did a lean air on it. It was incredible.
I mean, I've known Tony since the 80s off and on, but but yeah, when I created a table for him for his podcast out of recycled skateboards, and when I delivered the table, I also took the board that I'd recreated from this really famous photo of him from the '80s, from 1987. It's always been my favorite skateboarding photo. So I decided that I'd like to recreate that same exact board because they've been re-releasing some of these reissued boards from the '80s, the old shapes and the old graphics. So I tracked down all the parts, the period specific parts of that skateboard, and assembled it and even put the scratches on it from the original photo and everything. And when I was there delivering the table, I showed him the board and he was like, "Holy cow. I want to recreate the same photo." So he got his assistant to track down all the original clothing and stuff that he was wearing
Wow.
in the original photo and recreated the photo, 38 years later,
Wow.
doing the same trick on the same board, wearing the same clothes. And so, yeah, it was really cool. I was able to go back for the photo shoot. And by the way, same photographer as well. J. Grant Britton shot the original one in 1987,
Shot this one.
and he shot this one as well.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
and they're actually going to put this in, they're working on a new coffee table book. Grant and Tony are, and they're actually going to put that session in that book.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah, so that's going to be good. And so, yeah, I don't know why I decided to, I just had this burst of creativity over the last couple of years where I just started doing stuff with my hands, and that was it. That was the first thing that kind of kicked it off.
How about the guitars? How about the Stevie Ray Vaughan? You got the Eddie Van Halen. You showed me the little gear in the little compartment where the pickups
Mm.
usually go, where supposedly you were telling me like that's where he just kind of threw it in there to throw people off. Think
Yeah,
he was working on some type of new technology.
right. A lot of people would copy Eddie Van Halen's, guitar builds and stuff because everybody knew he would, do this stuff on his own. And so the guitar is famous by the name of Frankenstein because it's just parts from all kinds of different guitars kind of Frankenstein together. And so, yeah, to throw people off and so people wouldn't copy him, he would put things on it that didn't even work just to throw people, off on trying to copy it. So I thought that was pretty cool. That was a really hard build. I had to do a ton of research. Like the original guitar is at the Met, the Metropolitan
Hmm.
Museum of Art,
Oh, okay.
and so there were a lot of detailed
Oh,
photographs
nice.
of that guitar. So I got down, I mean, to the micron, it seemed like, on where scratches were and all that, just to make it as realistic as I could, all the way up to the burn marks on the head where he would put his cigarettes. And then once I did that one, I was like, you know what? What are some other iconic guitars in rock and roll? Next one I worked on was the Stevie Ray Vaughan Strat. That one was a lot less, I guess, intricate as far as trying to get the copy, but really it was just a matter of making it look really beaten and worn. So that was the second one I did, and then I did another Van Halen one, which was the actual precursor to the
Mm.
Frankenstein. It's the black and white one.
Yeah.
Really, the black and white one is the same one as the Frankenstein. He just painted red over it.
Okay. Oh,
So
okay.
it was all the same guitar. He just kept restriping it and repainting it over and over again.
Oh, wow.
It was black and yellow at a time. It was black and white.
I
Now,
remember the black and yellow.
yeah. Then he's got, of course, the most famous one is the red, black, and white one that I've got in there. Um, so that was the Stevie Ray Vaughan was the next, and then I did Rocky for George Harrison, which is this really cool kind of psychedelic, hand painted guitar. It was also a Stratocaster that he did around the Let It Be sessions. And so, yeah, those are super fun and just another little outlet for me to get my nervous energy out.
That's great. That's great. I love George Harrison. I find myself sometimes going to YouTube and watching some of his old interviews on Dick Cavett
Yeah,
show, and
yeah.
he
He
was a
was the
very
most
enlightened
spiritual.
individual.
Yeah, he
I
was the most
just,
spiritual out
yeah,
of
I
all of them.
love hearing him talk.
Yeah.
What a life.
Yep.
What
Yep.
a life,
Yep.
those guys had. It's amazing. Let's go into your professional voiceover career.
Hmm.
You have a custom booth now built. Share with me, what's that like? Like, what's the process of working with your voice so that translates over to the customer?
Hmm.
And so, how do you go about communicating somebody else's message in an authentic way?
Well, It can be challenging, and it really depends on what the message is. Sometimes it's just something as benign as just some training content, which is, I'm working on one today that's like a 10,000 word e-learning project where they're teaching about SEO. So sometimes it can be very kind of bland content like that. And the idea is to keep people awake, especially if it's a very dry topic, right? Um, we've all gone through e-learning modules where, the narrator is just super flat and, Bueller, 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 and the idea is to keep the listener awake.
Put you in a theta state.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, sometimes it does. So you have to keep it lively to keep the people interested in the content. So that can be a challenge, but what I try to do is I just try to take a lot of breaks, because I've found that if I sit down and I try to just power through chapter after chapter after module, it does start to flatten out. So you have to take a lot of different breaks, get up, move around a little bit, sit back down and get refreshed and get back to it. Um, so that's challenging. But then if it's some other kind of advertisement or something like that, then you basically just have to go off of what their directions are. Sometimes they want a very warm, sincere, trustworthy type of read, like example, like in COVID, that we're all in this together, and in these unprecedented times, those kinds of
That
things.
sounded really good.
Yeah, if I said that once, I said it 100 times
Oh,
over the
man.
pandemic. So, it's that kind of read, or else there's the opposite of that, which is the this weekend at the Ashley Home Store's 4th of July sale. Stuff like that. You have to go from one side to the other, and throughout the day, it can be all of the above.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, right now, what the kind of in vogue style is just conversational, just how
Okay.
people talk to each other.
Yeah.
You know,
People just want genuine conversation just like
exactly.
this.
You don't have to have a quote unquote good voice to be good at voiceover. You just got to be real.
Yeah.
And if you can educate somebody, if you can make them click something or learn something or be entertained, that's it. You don't have to sound like Morgan Freeman or
Yeah.
Sam Elliott. You just have
That's
to be real.
that's great advice to people looking into that or actually starting out. That's really
Yeah,
good. That's
yeah,
really good. Just
yeah,
be free with it and just be genuine. One of my favorite ones that comes to mind is Sunday, Sunday,
yeah,
Sunday.
yeah.
Tickets are $20, but you'll only need the edge of your seat.
Right. Yep.
I used to love those,
Yep.
like the monster truck
Yep.
rallies and stuff. That is awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that, and we'll show some clips of that as well. Let's get down to the major question of this podcast, and that is how can we as human beings communicate better?
I think the key to any kind of communication is not just the communicating, but the listening. I think we don't listen enough to each other, and I'm a big fan of just shut up and listen. You know, um, you can. I think you can do a whole lot more and communicate a whole lot better if you know more about the person you're trying to communicate to. And so, I try to sit on the sidelines a little bit and kind of absorb what other people are doing and are into before I start to bloviate on, you know, this or that. I want to hear where they're coming from first, and then I can kind of contribute.
Yeah, that's very wise. That's very wise. A lot of the ancient books talk about that. Just to when you're still and you do just observe,
Hmm.
you can pick up so much more information about what's going on in
Yeah.
your environment. It's incredible. And like you said, you don't do like a knee-jerk reaction that, later on you possibly regret or
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's so many people out there who know they know everything, and they're the first people to tell you that they know everything, right? Um, my my dad, and I think he would quote. I think this is a Mark Twain reference, but he would say, "It's better to be silent and be thought a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt."
that's beautiful.
And so, I just try to keep to myself, and if I have something to contribute, then I will. But I get enough talking with my job
There you go.
because I sit and I talk to myself all day
That's great.
long. I sit in a padded room and I talk to myself all day long.
That's so good. And you're
And
still sane.
yeah, so
Thank
So
you, skateboarding.
yeah, so I get enough talking during the day myself.
That's
So
awesome.
so when I'm done with my work day, I'm pretty quiet the rest of the day. Not only to rest my instrument, but also just to I've had
Yeah,
enough of that for the day. Start over again in the morning.
that's wonderful. I haven't had anybody say that yet.
Oh yeah,
Haven't had anybody say that yet, and that's super important to just listen.
yep.
You know. Um, all right, so let's head off to our last question.
Okay.
This is a philosophical question. I always throw people off kilter when I throw this out there because it's deep.
All right, let's
It's
hear it.
deep. Right now, we're swimming in molecules. Everything is made of molecules. If you break those down, you got atoms and you got quarks and hadrons, and we start looking further down. Everything's made of light. But here we are. We're in this present moment. We're experiencing the material world together. Some say we might even be creating it together in this moment. Mike Hathcote, as an individual, as you look out as your individual experience, what do you this point in your life? What do you think this is? What do you think's going on out here?
Hmm. I have to think about that one for a second. Whatever it is, I think it's important that we realize that it could be over tomorrow, it could be over today. And my whole life has always been about making the most of, whatever the moment is. So whether it's building a pool in my backyard to skate, or following my dream of being, of working in the skateboarding industry, which I did for a while before I started doing voiceover work, running a bunch of skateboard parks, being a voiceover talent, working for yourself and doing what you love for a living, you never work a day in your life. And so I've been able to do that multiple times. So whatever this thing is that we're going through right now, make the most of every single day. Don't, a lot of people get bogged down in the minutia of working some dead end job, or, just to, rinse and repeat the same thing every day. Break out of that. You're good at something. Find what you're good at and figure out a way to make a living doing it. And so, like I said, I've been really lucky to be able to do that multiple different times, and I've never regretted it. So I don't know if that answers the question, but whatever this is we're doing, make it fun every day.
Love it. That was fantastic. Love it. Love it. Great advice. Let's go into overtime. Let's
Okay.
go into overtime. I was invited to come see your documentary. Was
Mm.
it last week?
Yeah.
You did a documentary,
Yep.
Knoxville, Tennessee skateboard scene with a bunch of your friends, dedicated to a friend.
Yep.
It's not out yet, but if you can share a little bit about that. I first of all, I loved it. It brought back so many memories. If you grew up in the '80s, man, you hit all the highlights. Even if it happened in Knoxville,
Yep.
it was happening in Tempe, Arizona at the same time.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee originally. That's where I was born and raised, and that's where I grew up. And cut my teeth skateboarding. And so people don't realize that some little town in little town in Tennessee had such a rich skateboard scene. When you think of skateboarding in the '80s, you think of, or '70s and '80s, you think of, California, um, which was the epicenter of it. But the same story, like you said, was happening all over the country. And so I just wanted to kind of get something down that explored the rich history of that town and its skateboard scene, and the thing, and it gave so much to me starting out that I felt like I needed to document that. So I reached out to all the kind of key players who grew up in the '80s with me, and kind of helped that scene along, who are all still skating, by the way. Some of them in their 60s at this point.
Wow.
And yeah, I just had to document it. And we're going to be doing a release, or a theatrical release in June, uh, back in Knoxville. We're going to go back for the premiere, and yeah, it's cool. It's called Knoxville: A Skateboarding History, and it's about an hour-long documentary covering everything from the '70s all the way up to current day. And yeah, I enjoyed it.
Fantastic. I enjoyed it too. It
Yep.
was awesome. It was awesome. Thanks for letting me check it out. Last thing I'd like to talk about is right before we started recording, you shared with me you're writing a book, or you finished it.
I'm finished with it. It's not up on Amazon yet, but it will be any day now. It's in the process of doing that. But yeah, I wrote a book on how to get started in a voiceover, in the
Nice.
voiceover industry. It's called the Voiceover Blueprint. Get found, get heard, get hired. And it's just a entry level beginner's book on how to get started in the VO industry. And um, it's about 115 pages. It's not a huge long read, but it's the book that I wish I had
There you go.
when I started. Because I've stepped on a lot of the landmines, and this will help you sidestep some of those landmines. So, and of course, I'm doing the audiobook for it.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah.
I've already started that process as well. So, yeah, that'll be out hopefully by mid-March in both formats. I mean, we'll have hard copies, we'll have audiobook, we'll also have ebooks available. So it'll all be on Amazon.
Fantastic. Is this something they might be able to get into colleges or high schools?
Possibly. I mean, I guess they could. I don't see what would stop them from doing that. So yeah, I think so.
Or like some of the different schools that might teach this stuff?
Yeah, yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
And I actually do teach this in addition to what I do professionally, for clients, for my voiceover clients. I also teach others how to be voiceover talent. I run a program called the Voiceover Blueprint that also helps aspiring voice actors kind of learn the ropes and kind of
Wow.
get up into their own careers.
That is
So that's
really
another thing that
awesome.
I do on the side.
That is really cool. That is really awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today. It was truly a pleasure.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
Alrighty. I'll see you next weekend.
All right.